Welcome to the Daphne Child Grantee Spotlight Series, where we showcase the innovative work of our grantees in combating violence against children. The Daphne Child Programme is a collaborative initiative funded by the European Union, led by Eurochild and Terre des Hommes, empowering grassroots civil society organizations across 9 European countries through a comprehensive 3-year sub-granting and capacity building program. You can learn more at daphne.childhub.org. That's daphne.childhub.org. I'm Zsófia Karetka, and today I'm speaking with Gonzalo Santamaria about his project focused on child-led cyber safety education for migrant children. Gonzalo, thank you so much for joining us today. To start, could you tell us a bit about yourself and your role with the Association Institute of Educational Techniques in Spain?
Hello, Sofia. Thank you for inviting me to talk. I'm Gonzalo Santamaria. I'm co-founder of ITE Network, that is Asociación Instituto de Técnicas Educativas. We are based in Madrid. We have already more than 10 years doing projects regarding education, inclusion with the schools. We are, in fact, an association that is a network of schools. So all our members are schools that are doing a European project and they want to internationalize their education. That's our main aim, the internalization of the education. What we do is to help to support the school to participate in European projects and to give them the voice and the possibility to have exchanges with other schools all around Europe. So we decided to participate in this bid that Eurochild and Terre des Hommes offer us, and we are very happy that we are participating together with another organization that it was also related to me, that is ITE Network, that means including children affected by migration. So we have been for 10 years working in this field that I think that is very necessary in the last years after all the conflicts that we have suffered. So our main aim is of all is inclusion and including in this specific project migrant children. And then I will explain why we are using children affected by migration and not migrant children.
Actually, let me pick up on that. So what do you mean when you talk about children affected by migration?
Okay, I'm not English speak mother tongue, so I think that we can explain. One of our partners in ITE Network is Chris Keeping, and he developed this concept because so migrant children are considered children that goes to one place to other because of different reasons, economical, refugees, politically, because the families just migrant to other place. But when we refer to children affected by migration, is that they have been affected by migration, but maybe they are still in their own hometown, but they are affected by migration. Why? Because their parents migrate, but they were left behind. So that's why we don't consider children that migrate to other place, but also those who were left behind with the grandparents, with other relatives, with other friends, but without their parents. And this is one of the, I think, more important topics of our project. That is, we talk about all the children regarding that the migration can affect them in many ways, as we can see. In the schooling, even in the problems with bullying, that's why we are developing this project. And there are many cases in which these children are more vulnerable than other children. That's why we decide to face these specific children.
Thank you so much for that clarification. That's very important. So let's dive into this project actually called Children Affected by Migration. peer-led safe and secure online behavior and well-being. Can you walk us through this project? So what does it involve and how it builds on any of your existing programs?
Yes, so we developed many years ago a program that was called Be Cyber Safe and Responsible. So what we did is training programs addressed to the trainers and to the teachers, to the adults, in which you just talk about the dangers of the new social media, of the new hyperconnectivity of the children. Okay. So what now we decide after many trainings and many years, as you know that technology and internet go so fast, we decided that it was even better if we do a peer-to-peer approach, not only from adults to children or to teenagers, but from children to children. So what we aim in this proposal is that we will use our existing program of Be Cyber Safe and Responsible, and we will transform into a peer-to-peer mediation program in which we will train, let's say, mediator facilitators, we call it ICAM, the cyber and responsible facilitators that will train and mediate with their peers, with other students. That's what we intend, that we consider it important that children talk with children and will talk about the dangers that they can face with a bad use of the new technology, social media and internet in general. So that's what we consider that it was better.
That's fascinating about your peer-to-peer approach, and I'm going to ask more questions about that. But first, let's help our listeners understand the problem. So I just want to ask you how these children affected by migration are exposed to more risk in the cyberspace. What are your experiences? What do you see?
So after many years of working with this type of children affected by migration, those who really migrate and those who were left behind, we consider that sometimes they are more vulnerable because they are alone. They don't have references and no one is teaching them how to surf on the internet and how the dangers that they can face.
Yes, it's clear that social isolation is an important factor. Are there any particular online spaces or platforms where these children face heightened risks?
Of course, all types of platforms in which there are chat with unknown people or even with the peers. For example, we faced that these WhatsApp groups or even Instagram chat or even TikTok, they are very dangerous because sometimes they don't know how to act in this kind of chats and they expose so much because they are very young to understand what they can write, what they can send, the type of pictures of themselves that they can share. And the problem in the last years, what we realize is that the access to a smartphone or to a tablet with all the contents, internet contents, is every year younger. So now even children with 8, 9 years are completely full access to these kind of platforms. And we consider it that they need supervision, and that's the problem with these kind of children. And maybe, for example, these children that they are called children left behind, no, that the parents emigrate and they have a mobile phone because they have to communicate with the parents because they don't have direct communication. But unfortunately, the grandparents of the relatives, they don't supervise them. So they are there with a smartphone, with full access, and all the dangers are coming without any restriction. That's the problem, that they should know some rules, basic rules of how to use this kind of technology.
So, for teaching them these basic rules or showing them, why is it more effective, in your opinion, for the children to see someone from their own peer group.
Because children listen more to the peers than to the adults, that's for sure. And with experience, with their own, what we realize in our last training is that when a child shares their own experience with another companion and even a bad experience, they understand it better than if it's an adult. Because if it's an adult, they say, no, it was in your times, not now, it's different. But when they are at the same age, they go, oh, and then start to reflect about, but it happened to you. My friend can happen also to me. So I think that it is much more effective for them if they are same age, same companions to talk about this. We consider it that it is another generation in which sometimes they see us as adults, parents, that we don't understand their online world because we are from another generation in which we didn't grow up like they are doing now.
As a mother of 2 teenage boys, I can only confirm.
Yeah, I have three, and it is sometimes it's incredible when you have been advising them for so many months, even years, and then one day they come, oh, my friend sent me that, and I think that he's right with it. Oh, okay. And do you remember that I told you many time ago? And they sometimes they say yes, yes, but now I confirm it with my friend. So it is supervised, and sometimes we have to take over the responsibility of our own children.
It makes perfect sense. But then I'm wondering, so how do you identify and train children to become these sort of co-leaders in your cyber safety education?
So we identify because, of course, through the teachers, we will involve several schools in which we will do the first testing, of course, implementation, and then, of course, will be the teachers who know better the students, who can be the leaders of the children in order to become the facilitators, the mediators of this training to their companions. And then also training at the same time these facilitators, teachers who will act as referees of the situation in which it can be happen in the school. So we will talk with the teachers just to select this kind. And when you go to the school and you talk, we have been in many schools doing sessions for sometimes with the teachers and sometimes with the students. And then in 1 hour session, you realize who is the leader of the session, who is the leader of the, and then you have to see also the context of their families, of the situation, because sometimes it can be motivating for these children that to pointing them as leaders of this project because can motivate it in the future and give them much more confidence and self-esteem for the future. So, of course, when we work with the schools, we take into consideration the teachers as part of the selection process.
Okay. Has it ever happened? And if so, how do you handle situations where a child's perspective is different from the adults? So, for example, the co-leader and the teaching side.
Yes, of course, and we have to learn because sometimes we are wrong because we see it from another perspective. And then we have to discuss also. They are very interesting discussion when we see different opinion, different perspective, and then we also value that if it is against the program or not. But for the moment, in our last sessions and the training, mostly of the cases we reinforce our message and we also change some messages because we consider that they were completely out of date because this world is so changing. Even using the words that we use because the language changes very quickly, no? And teenagers they use some words that many times I don't understand my own children when they use some words and they completely change and of course always following that we have a minimum, no, on a standard of the minimum, let's say, rules, no, because, for example, time at disposal when they use the screen, no, we adults, let's try to put some time in 2, 3 hours, and then you heard in this discussion with children, it's okay, we need to do free, and we can be online with the screen even 6 or 7 hours per day.
Yeah, so part of your program is actually showing them how offline life can be just as important and not just concentrate on their online behaviors.
Of course, the online behaviors is important just to talk about the risk and to talk about empathy, to talk about that they have to be, but that life is not only online. We already consider that they have an online life and it's fair and they have to behave as well and they online as offline. For example, males used to play video games with many people and that they don't know. And then sometimes they are also chatting with completely unknown people. And then I ask them, did you face any kind of bullying or even bad behavior when you were playing? And yes, very usual because you are so stressed, joking. So they accept this behavior, this rude behavior sometimes with hard words and this kind, because it's part of the play. So they already understand that it's part of the game. And then we say, but do you think that you have to talk so bad to this kind of person even if you don't know them? No, yes, because we are playing. It's a game, and it's just a game. They don't consider that the other person that they don't know maybe they feel uncomfortable and that they can even suffer. So this lack of empathy sometimes that they don't realize because they don't know, they don't see because it's only chatting. When we talk about cyberbullying, dangers, and then we talk about, of course, all the problems that can be with the image and with the different types of cyberbullying. But we don't talk that there are also some video games platforms that there is a lot of bullying, but it's completely silent.
So I understand that this program is targeting children aged 8 to 12. What is the thinking behind that? What's the reason?
Because as I said previously, the age to the access to a smartphone and to the internet, to all these social media, it is very young now. And now there are many children in the primary school with 8 years old, 9, with full access to all the contents of the internet. So we have to do some pedagogical approach just to teach them that it is not a normal phone. I mean, you are not giving a phone just for calling mom or dad. I'm here on that. No, they are giving you, and a smartphone is more than a computer. So they can have everything. And many of the parents, they don't know about filters and safety software for the children. And we consider that this age is especially vulnerable for many cases because they are not still conscious of the dangers and they are really young. They are pre-adolescents. They are not even adolescents. We understood in the last years that mostly of our programs were for secondary school, but then we realized that we had to start it directly in primary school because they are getting the mobile phone very, very young. That then there are consideration if you consider it good or not. We don't enter that. In our opinion, it's not good to have mobile so young, but you have to also understand the situation of some families that they are far away or some parents are divorced or they want to talk with the children and then create some problems in the school. About how, for example, the first student or child who has the smartphone in the class, or, and all the children goes and I can see this and this, and I think that we have to anticipate this age. That's why we consider it important to do it, to start it from 8 to 12 and even to 14.
In your approach, you have these older children leading discussions about like really sensitive topics like grooming and maybe radicalization. How do you ensure their own safety throughout this process, their own safety and mental well-being?
Because we have been doing the training in advance with them. So our approach is to do a cascade training. So first of all, we train the facilitators, the teachers, and our experts that we will talk with the adult. Then we will select these children. We will do some sessions. We will give them some also online materials and program in which they can learn, always related to the language, of course. That's what we are doing now, is to make them adapted to their age. And then we, of course, we will try to save as their children through their teachers. We never do nothing that the teachers say, no, we cannot. So there is a prior selection of all the topics, all the content with the teachers.
What has surprised you most, you personally, about working with children as co-leaders in this project?
I remember in the last sessions, what they surprised me is that they are very transparent, completely transparent. I mean, they don't have any shame of telling you if something is good or something is wrong according to them, and they have no problem to tell you very even private things of what is happening, of what happened them in the past. So they are completely open. That's what I surprised me more. That it's easier to talk with them because I don't consider that they hide anything at the end. But when you talk to a group with them in some session, they feel free. Maybe it's also because it is the topic that we are talking, and they consider it that this world belong to them in this case, no, this online world, and that you are like a foreigner in that world because you are an adult too, but this is our world and we know, and this is our new language because they create new words, and this kind of consideration is interesting that this generation is develop soft skills better than my generation used to develop.
Yes, definitely something we can learn from them.
Because we adults, we still have some conventions that they don't have anymore.
Yeah, conventions or agendas. So,
Mm.
yeah. So, for other organizations listening who work with children affected by migration or who might want to develop similar child led cyber safety approaches, what would be your top three pieces of advice?
Okay. I think that for children affected by migration, first of all, it's important to understand the context. What is happening around this child, with family, friends, everything about what is their world, because it's important because they are completely different in cases, and sometimes children affected by migration, those left behind, no, their children, they suffer a lot of bullying because they don't have so many friends, because they are isolated, and because sometimes they have more things than others because their parents are sending money and a lot of gifts to them. So the other companions consider then, he's just showing us that he's richer than we are. So sometimes it's important just to understand why that child is affected by this kind of cyberbullying or even bullying directly in the school. So this is important. For those other children who are also affected by migration, that they, first of all, is very also. Secondly, it is important to understand if they understand. Sometimes it's just a case of language or cultural problem, just cultural problem, and understand the differences. So they need this intercultural mediation important to understand if he agree with what is happening in the school environment. And I think that it is very difficult sometimes for the teachers to go into this kind of children, because usually they don't open to their peers because this cultural barrier or language barrier. This is so they need to do this kind of mediation also and try to do it. And the third one for me would be that let's not try to think only as children affected by migration, but as children. That's all. So they are children and they have the same rights, all the other children. The same right to play, the same right to growing up as safe as possible. And also try to get them involved into the school community as soon as possible, because if they feel safe at the school, that is most of the time that they will feel safe in the society. That's for sure. But if they don't feel safe in the school, they will not be safe in the society. If they feel safe in the school, then we have even 80-90% in just game.
That's a lovely final thought. Gonzalo, thank you so much for sharing your insights today.
Thank you, Sofia, for inviting us to talk.
Thank you. So this was Gonzalo Santamaria sharing his approach to child-led cyber safety education for children affected by migration. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Daphne Child Grantee Spotlight series. You can learn more about the Daphne Child program at daphne.childhugs.org. Gonzalo, thank you again for joining us today, and I will be very curious to learn more about your project as it evolves.
Sofia, thank you to Telesom and to Child for giving us this opportunity. Thank you.